fine.
So we just we talked about the role of male and female, and Mareh Yaakov gives us another note about that. He says Rashi repeats the statement of the Midrash. So let's read the Rashi. Shiva Shiva, 7 Zachar u'nekeva, male and female. That's what the first 7 and the second 7 mean. And he takes this from what Onkelos says, who specifically says Shiva Shiva Dechar Unukva. He says 7, male and female. So Onkelos adds those 2 words, and that's also found in Breshit Rabbah in the Midrash. Kedei sheyakriv mehen korban b'tzeito. And the Midrash Tanchuma tells us that. Why does he need 7 pairs? So that he is going to make a sacrifice out of these animals that are tahor, that are ritually pure, when he leads the ark. So now we're going to read the comment, and B. Rashi repeats the statement of the Midrash that Noach was ordered to preserve 7 pairs for the purpose to make a sacrifice in leading the ark. But for this purpose alone, 7 pairs would be superfluous. God was not hungry to require 7 pairs to be preserved. Wouldn't 3 pairs be sufficient? I.e., pairs to procreate, and the rest for sacrifice. So why did we need so many pairs? It seems to me that the number 7 was adaptable to the principle of cleanliness. So this seems to be a personal comment that he's added in, and he's saying that because 7 signifies completion within this world, that seems to be the meaning of the number 7. That fits also together with Tehorah, with cleanliness, with something that meets the standard of what the world was created for. Besides, the, quote, clean animals would keep suffering the heaviest losses due to their relative passivity. So again, because these animals don't have, and we just read this week Parshat Shmini, and we learned that pretty well all of the animals that we're allowed, in fact, all of the animals that we're allowed to eat, are not animals that have aggressive natures, that have so much bloodlust in them, in order to keep this out of our systems. So again, these animals would be ones that would be prey for other animals, being the victims of carnivorous animals, as food for people, as sacrifices, etc. So because of all of these roles where they would suffer losses, therefore their reproduction had to be increased to fill the gap. Don't forget, up until the time of the flood, people were not allowed to eat animals. So this has to be something prophetic, something that Noah knew would be a change. And we see that it's significant enough that he prepared for the change, or God told him to prepare for the change, not necessarily with foreknowledge on Noah's part, but at least that change was being prepared for. Rashi's statement contradicts the prophet. Which prophet is he talking about? I will have to look into that, and hopefully I'll have a better answer for us next week. Number 9. Uminha behema, with a pazer. Pazer is the note that's on top of the mem there. It has a very narrow base, and then goes up into a broad peak on top, a broad set of horns on top. So it is like something that is going to...
It's too small to see. Is it like a V?
It is, yes, like a mu. If we're going
so
to
it's
agree.
Different. Then what's the one on number 3? HaTorah.
Number 3
about
is
the resh.
Number 3 is a rivi'i.
Yeah.
Looks sort of like a diamond. That's
okay,
all
that's the
fit in.
rivi'i, yeah.
Pazer looks like that on top of the note.
Oh, really? Oh, I can't see that.
Upside down.
So,
oh, I see.
Rather narrow base,
yeah.
leading into a broad, a broadening of the thing. This is a major trumpeting. This is a major emphasis on the word. This is a king. This is a note that's going to stand by itself, and it's going to be paused after it comes. Thus Noah was ordered to save the clean cattle, and from the cattle that had been domesticated, a proper number shall be saved for various purposes. So again, we're going to start out with a narrow thought, and we're going to move to something more, and we're going to say that this is something of importance. So we're going to take the behemah, the cattle, and we're going to say that we're going to need them for many reasons, for people to be able to eat, for them to become sacrifices, for them to become food for other animals. So we're going to take a narrow idea and we're going to broaden it, and we're going to say that it's something that's really, really important. Hence, we've emphasized that word that word is emphasized with a pazer. Asher with a tlisha gdola, and at least in the text here, it only has one tlisha on the word. I'm going to read the comment, but there should be two tlishot, and we'll read in a second, by the fact that it was not involved in sex deviations and intermingling. It was considered an original example of creation, as illustrated by the shape and placement of the reading mark. So tlisha, if we'll remember, is something that, tlisha gdola, the one that faces towards, with a circle, that faces towards the inner part of the word, always, always, always is placed at the beginning of the word. The one that looks like that is called tlisha gdola, and that one will always be on top of the first letter of the word. And if there's an accented syllable that's not that first syllable, then you'll have two of them, one on the first syllable and one on whichever syllable gets the accent. And it has a companion, tlisha ktana, that is its mirror image. That one will always be on the last syllable. And if it's accented on another syllable, you'll have a second one earlier on the word. So this one on asher, there really should be two tlishot, one on the aleph, to tell you that this is something that always comes to the beginning and focuses you back towards the beginning. That's the meaning of the note. And then on the syllable that's accented as well, to tell you that that's the accented syllable. And usually when we have that, he will comment that it's a doubled note or something that has more than one meaning because of that doubling. He doesn't say that here, and he's only written one tlisha in his comment. I would not pronounce this word asher. I would pronounce it asher, so correctly there should be two tlishot. Why? Because tlisha gdola always goes at the beginning of the word. Therefore, there should be a second one on the second syllable.
Does Art Scroll have two tlishot?
Art Scroll does in fact have two. Art Scroll has two.
Trust you.
Excuse me. So, nonetheless, the important thing that when we get a tlisha is the fact that it focuses us back to the beginning. So, reading again, by the fact that it was not involved in sex deviations and intermingling, it was considered an original example of an original sample of creation. Why are we going back to the original creation? Because it's a tlisha gdola. It's at the beginning of the word, both by the shape, something that is circular, complete, whole, and something that is looking forward from there on. That's where the little tag goes, looking forward. And by the way, it starts at the beginning always. So a share with a tlisha is focusing us back all the way back to creation and the correctness of something as it would have been created to function. Lo with a munach. So again, this is going to separate itself out from what's gone before and look forward to what's going to go after it. Even if it did not qualify for eating or a sacrifice, but by the standards of creation, it was viewed as a clean sample of the work of God, as conveyed by the shape of the reading mark. So, even if it was not tahora, not asher, not min behema, even if it's something that's separate from the categories that we've been talking about, it's going to be in the ark, it's going to go ahead, it's going to continue to prosper after that. So we have this separation from what's before and this looking to what's going to go on. So the animal that is lo tahora, tahora has a mercha. Mercha gently includes what's gone before, but more importantly looks forward to what's going to come after it. Clean, number 12.
What's the difference between that word and number 3? I know other than the hay at the beginning,
So the hay at the
hatorah,
beginning.
but there's also, after
The vav.
the second hay and the resh, there's a vav in number 3, but not in
Malay.
number 12.
Okay, so I haven't seen him as of yet commenting on words that are written chaser and words that are written malay. A word has the possibility of being written in its completeness or being written in a contracted form.
Oh, so it's like
So
cannot and
the
can't.
O can either be a dot that is on top of the word,
Over to the, right,
or it can be
with a vav.
a vav with a dot.
Oh.
So if it had the vav, it would be malay, it would be full,
Right,
and if it didn't have the vav, it would be chaser, it would be missing.
right.
And
Right.
look what we've got. The animal
Tahara.
that is hatahara, the one that
Holy
is
one.
pure,
Has the
has
vav
the
of
vav,
Is
is
more
written
complete.
shalem, is written
Yeah.
full, and the animal that is lo tahara
Is
Mhm.
missing.
is written chaser, is
Ah.
written missing. So it's got something that's missing.
And it's the,
So,
the vav
well,
from Shem Hashem, right?
Mhm.
It's the vav which represents the name of God.
Mhm.
Right, so the pure one, the holy one, has that element of godliness in it. The other one does not. It's not pure. It is missing an element of godliness in it. Interesting point.
Mhm.
Good catch. Good.
So while that's not commented on here, that is something that is very frequently brought by other commentators.
Ooh, I'm right up with all these comments.
There you go.
It's just
Bal-
actually my lack
Ba-
of the
Ba-
language that makes me
Balaturim and Minchat Shai. Occasionally Rashi will point out a Malay and a Chaser. So Malay, full, and Chaser, missing.
Okay, you'll have to remind me of
We will come to many more.
that. Okay,
It happens often.
okay.
So perhaps one of the sort of iconic examples of this is Avraham is dealing with Ephron to buy the field from him,
Right.
and throughout the entire story, Ephron is written with Resh Vav Nun, written Shalem, until Ephron gets his money and no longer has Ma'arat HaMachpelah, no longer has the cave where Sarah is going to be buried. And after that, all he's got is his money, and he becomes Ephron Chaser.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes Ephron who has been belittled by
He's
the way
now
that he
lower
acted, and by the way,
Yeah.
he no longer has this elevated piece of land, so he has cheapened himself.
Right, right. He's lowered his standing. Okay.
Number 12, clean. So we're saying, the animal that is not tahor. Although it was not considered clean for certain uses, it remained clean, exempt from experimentation, and unchanged by its behavior and looks, just as it was meant to be originally. So this is a mercha. It's looking forward. It's connected slightly to what's come before, but it's looking forward to what is going to go after it. So it is going to scoop into the concept of what it's going to be when we're gonna learn that from the next word. The question that he's trying to answer is, the animal that's not pure still seems to have the word tahora. So how did that animal that's not pure, lo tahora, have the word tahora? And don't forget, we're taking each word as a sentence in and of itself. So if the word is there, then it has to have some significance and be able to stand on its own. So he's asking the question: if we refer to it as clean, where's the cleanliness in it? And the cleanliness is that it's going to stay in its own species from here on in. When we go forward from here, it's going to be clean in that sense. And that's why the animal that's lo tahor still has the word tahora to describe it when we're considering each word a sentence or a paragraph in and of itself. He, it, number 13. This is a tavir. So this is a combination. Mercha tavir comes very frequently. The tavir, don't forget, is the note with the mercha on the outside, so a shell on the outside with something with a dot on the inside of it, with something that's sheltered and kept safe within it. Remember, tahora he. The tahora is leading into this. It, number 13. It deserved, therefore, to continue its presence, and it also should be admitted to the ark, as demonstrated by the shape of the reading mark. So, because the animal that's not tahor still has this element of tahora about it, it is going to be able to be sheltered within the ark. So we have the tavir telling us that this animal is going to be sheltered. Why? Because it has still some inherent goodness, some inherent completion of creation about it. And we get a side note, NB, lo tahorahi, instead of tmeah, indicates, as our rabbi said in Psachim, that a man shall always speak with clean language. Yolam yedaber adam bilashon nikiyah. So it certainly could have said, instead of saying the animal that's tahor and the animal that's lo tahorahi, it certainly could have said tmeah, could have said the one that's impure. And we're learning from this a principle that we've learned from Gemara, that you should try to say positive things and not to express the negative unless they are a direct warning about something that somebody needs to avoid. So in general, you try to speak better if you can. If you're not specifically commanded not to speak better. So that's how we have le'olam, always, but it's really not always, because sometimes we do have a danger to warn our friends or to protect others. So I just want to clarify that word, that remark, le'olam, always. 14, shnayim, a pair, and it's with a tipcha. Tipcha will scoop what's come before it and gently have something of a connection to what goes after, but the more important focus is on what's come before. From those originally unclean animals, so remember we're talking about lo toharahi, so from the unclean animals, you shall admit a pair to be saved in the box, as referred backwards by the directional shape of the reading mark. So the lo toharahi is going to be scooped up by this tipcha, and that pair is going to go into the teva. Ish, a male, with a mercha. Mercha is going to look forward to what is gently connected to what's before, but more importantly, it's looking forward to what's going to come after it. A male, number 15. Also, in this case, you shall observe that a male is leading the way to the box, as depicted by the directional shape of the related reading mark. So again, before we had Zachar and Nechuvah, Ish v'ishto, and here again we're going to have Ish v'ishto, we're going to have the same words. Before, we separated out Ish v'ishto with a munach, so look at number 7 and number 8. So in the elevated example, in the animal that's tahor, Ish separates itself out from the fact that they're a pair, and leads in and of itself. And here, the ish has some connection to the fact that they're shnayim. So it's not as pure an example as the ish with the munach in front of it.
That's a good point.
He's still going to lead, but he's going to lead with some influence that perhaps isn't something that he should have had. And that's because it's lo Torah. The ishto, and it's female, with the sof pasuk. Number 16. On the way to the box, the male shall lead, and its female shall follow after her male according to the general rule of dependence. So before, when we had the munach et nachta, the female was maintaining a standard and the male was headed towards something. And here the male is really going forward because that's what his want is to do, and he's got some connectedness to the fact that they're a pair rather than really having pure male intentions. He's sort of more mixed up by the lower intentions just of pairing, and ishto is again being there, completing it, but not with any sense of elevation that we would have from the et nachta, that stable base with something looking up that we had with the et nachta, versus the sof pasuk, which says, okay, I'm completing it, but I'm not necessarily making anything better of it. So again, with the concept that I am infusing into this of the ratio, the first half of the pasuk being the more elevated half, and the second half being the more earthly or lower example. Not a question here, very simple. The first half of the pasuk talks about the Behema Torah, the second half talks about the Lo Torah. In the first half we have these pure examples of male and female and how they truly mesh together and how the notes show that they're completing their roles. And with the Lo Torah we see how the roles are a little bit mixed up and how the roles are confused and how the roles don't necessarily have as productive a conclusion as they can be.
Yeah,
they're still there, but they're not as good as they could be.
Not so sharp to do any of it again. Yeah. Brilliant.
For the sake of Alan Robbins, who's not here, we'll sing the pasuk.
Yes.
Mikol habehema hatzahara tikach lecha shiva shiva ish v'ishto umin habehema asher lo tehora hi shnayim ish v'ishto. And we go on to the next sentence, and we'll do one more and maybe two. Gam me'of. Gum has a munach under it. I don't see it anywhere in the text here, but there should be a munach there. It might just not have come out in the printing. And I think I'm going to, in the printing, going back to number 10 to Asher, and I'm going to put in that second klisha, because I think it's important. And after number 1 of the last sentence, Mikol, the kol has a munach under it, and there's a line after the word Mikol. So I just included those in the text here just to stay honest to the notes. So gam with a munach. Munach again is going to have a delineation from what's come before and is going to look forward to what is going to go after it. Also, similar. I'm just confused here by what number 11 of Earth of all Earth. That's the end of the pasuk. Okay. Gam, number 1. Also, similar consideration shall also be given to a different kind of species as indicated by the shape of the individual pronunciation of the reading mark without a samich. Usually, munach has something that comes after it. Usually it's leading up to something. Sometimes it's just an exclamation and it's going to be followed by something else, but not a normal partner for it. And this is one example of that. So that's what he's saying. A samich, something that's a normal partner for it. The type of species that he's talking about here is something that will have a different aspect compared to the behemoth, to the animals. So therefore we've got this separation from things that we've talked about. But they're also going to go into the ark and they're also going to continue. So that's why it gets a munach. And we get a note, gam also being frequently connected with the next word by samich is an expression of added quantity and quality. So,
I'm sorry, where's the munach supposed?
Under the gimel.
Oh, it's going to be under the gimel. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Under the beam.
So maybe this is an important point just to actually sing this so you get the idea of what's happening here. Gam me'of hashamayim. The gam is going to sort of sit there by itself, where it's normally something that connects to what goes after it. Gam me'of hashamayim. Gam me'of. So normally with a munach ravi or zakef katon, with something that a munach normally does, it connects to what's next to it. This is an example of something that doesn't have samich, means next to it. It doesn't have something that's attached to it. So it's going to sit out there by itself, and the point that he's trying to make here is that this is going to say that it's going to be standing there by itself. So there are lots of examples of this. There are others. There are quantities and qualities that are going to when we're saying this. Also, there are lots of different things that we could be talking about. We could be talking about different types of animals, different species of animals. We could talk about. So it's saying that it's not just a single inclusion, it's an inclusion of multiple different things. And that's why it's standing out there by itself. Me'of, from a bird. When selecting from a bird, it shall generally be considered as clean because of its strict anatomical compatibility to which it is adapted, as denoted by the shape of the reading mark. This has a darga, which is this note that goes under the word. It sort of looks like a ladder. And to refresh our memories, page LXV, number 16, darga is a chief which specializes as a mediator, capable to adjust to various situations by stages. So the note says darga goes down in stages, so that's why he's saying that it's able to adjust in stages. Although he is flexible, compromising with respect to details, he's also decisive and unyielding in his main objective, which emerges at the end. So it's something that is going to lead into something else. It is always followed by either a tavir or a munach ravi'i. So it's going to lead forward into something else. It's going to emphasize the word that it's got, and it might have this concept of stages or steps involved. And the word madregot means steps. So again, the word this is perhaps the best example of a note whose function matches its name.
review
So-
what you-
He's derived cleanliness here, or tehorah, and I'm not quite sure where this comes from the concept of dargah. And Rashi really makes no appropriate comments to that.